of seniority. We will alternate from my right, your left, to my left, your right. So just warning you, don't get whiplash. We begin on my right with Judge Thomas Malone. Judge Malone is a former chief judge of our court and a former district judge of Sedgwick County, now living in Topeka. To my left is Judge Stephen Hill, the longest serving law-trained judge in the state of Kansas. He is a former district judge from Miami County and now lives in Topeka. And before Judge Bolton Fleming joined us, Judge Hill was my closest compatriot from Southeast Kansas. Judge Karen Arnoldberger, our immediate former chief for 8 years on our court, was previously a longtime judge and then chief judge in the city of Overland Park, and she grew up in Kansas City, Kansas. Judge David Bruns, former Shawnee County district judge and another Wyandotte County native, now lives in Olathe. Judge Kim Schroeder, who was born in Winfield, raised in Hugoton, and now lives in Topeka, is a former district judge of the 26th Judicial District. Judge Catherine Gardner, now living in Topeka, is a former law clerk for federal district judge Sam Crow. Judge Amy Fellows Klein, who joined us from private practice in Wichita, continues to live in her childhood home of Valley Center. Judge Leslie Isherwood, originally from Hutchinson, joined the court after a career in the appellate division of the Sedgwick County District Court, or the Sedgwick County District Attorney's Office, and lives in Wichita. Judge J.C. Hurst from Lawrence came to us from private practice after a career in Kansas City and also served as general counsel. Judge Angela Coble, who lives in Salina after growing up in Stockton, joined the court after working for the federal courts in Wichita. And our no longer junior judge on the court, Judge Rachel Pickering, who is very excited today,
That's true.
is a former Shawnee County District Court judge who grew up in the St. Louis area and previously was an appellate defense lawyer and also an appellate prosecutor. We have one more judge who on our court who, for reasons outside of our control, couldn't be with us today. But Judge Gordon Atchison, former reporter from the Wichita Eagle and lives in Overland Park, originally from Cortland, New York, sends his congratulations and his fond regards, Judge. Judge Bolton Fleming was appointed by Governor Laura Kelly and confirmed by the Kansas Senate to fill the position created by the retirement of the longest serving judge in the history of our court, Judge Henry Green. Judge Green, I think we can all appreciate, is a legal giant. He is one of the most courteous people you will ever meet. He wrote with compassion. He used logic in a way that none of us really understood. And he was always just incredibly thoughtful. And I just spoke with him yesterday, and he is so proud that you are assuming his position, Judge Bolton Fleming. We're live streaming this event for all of you who want to go home and watch it again, with closed captioning for members of the public or for family and friends who were not able to attend in person or who are watching from other locations. I would like to thank my chief counsel, Chelsea Langland, for all of her work preparing for today's ceremony and organizing all of us, which is a real problem. Big thanks also go to Doug Shima, the clerk of the appellate courts, for his early work in preparing for today, and Andy Valdivia from the clerk's office, who is serving as our bailiff. Brock Luke and James Castione from the Office of Judicial Administration have been instrumental in making sure the logistics and the security for today's event has been arranged with precision. And we also appreciate the work of William Hasenkamp and Bryce Lannis-Croker from the Office of Judicial Administration's Information Technology Department in making sure that all of our technology goes off without a hitch. Lisa Taylor and her communications team are handling the public relations and all of the photography for today's event, and we are grateful for their support. And then a special thanks to Judge Bolton Fleming's Judicial Executive Assistant, or JEA, Colleen Speaker. Colleen has done just outstanding work, making today a very special one for the judge and for her family. All of this is on top of all of the Court of Appeals and Supreme Court staff who have gone above and beyond over the last few days and just done everything that we asked them to do. So thank you very much. There are too many of you to mention, but I know who you are and you know who you are, and I am very grateful. We are joined today by several government officials, and we are so grateful for you to take the time out of your schedule to come and be with us today. Thank you. Your presence is a testament to the respect and collaboration that exists across our many branches of government. The process for selecting and appointing Court of Appeals judges speaks to that collaboration. So since 2013, judges for our court have been appointed by the governor and subject to confirmation by the Kansas Senate. 8 of our current 14 judges have been selected through that process. In 2019, Governor Laura Kelly established the Court of Appeals Nominating Commission with 9 members composed of both lawyers and non-lawyers from all over the state, from all of our 4 congressional districts, to help vet and select the judges who will serve on our court. And 7 of our 14 judges have been selected using that system. It is a thorough, arduous, sometimes grueling process that puts you through all of the different aspects of judicial selection, but it has resulted in a highly qualified, thoughtful, and fair bench. Governor Kelly is with us today. Thank you so much for being here. I should note that Judge Bolton Fleming is the 7th judge of our court who has been appointed by Governor Kelly. So thankful for the thoughtful process that you have put in place for selecting our judges. And thanks to your leadership and the leadership of others, we are now one of very few courts across the country that has a majority of women jurists. 9 out of our 14 judges are women, which is almost unheard of. So thank you. Also joining us from the governor's office are Chief Counsel Justin Witten, Appointments Director Melissa King, Deputy Chief Counsel Ashley Stites-Hubbard, and Associate Counsel now, and until very recently, a research attorney at our court, Emily Depew. We're also grateful to have members of other branches of our government who are here with us today. Also from the executive branch, Attorney General Chris Kobach has joined us today. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. From the legislative branch, we're joined today by Senator Elaine Bowers. Senator Bowers has served on the Judiciary Committee during our last at least 7 appointments to the court, including mine. It's so great to see you. And we're also joined today by Representative Dan Osman, an attorney and a House Minority Policy Chair. Thank you for being with us. With us today is also Fran Oline from Congressman Derek Schmidt's office. So thank you so much for being present. Thank you all for all of the work that you do for Kansas. It's just incredibly important. I know we also have guests today, at least one, and maybe multiple, who have served or are serving on the governor's Court of Appeals nominating commission. So for all of you out there who have served in that capacity, thank you so much for your work in selecting qualified and fair judges for our court. With us here in the courtroom are various retired colleagues as well. And so I want to spend a little bit of time recognizing them. With us here is our retired colleague, Mike Boozer. It's great to see you, Mike. And also a retired or former Court of Appeals judge turned Supreme Court Justice, Carol Byer. It's so wonderful to see you. We have with us Diana Carlin, who is the wife of our former colleague, Joe Perrin. Wonderful to have you here. And also in attendance today are Justice Eric Rosen, Justice KJ Wall. Thanks so much for being here. And several of Bolton Fleming's former colleagues on the district court bench throughout the state. These include now Chief Judge Curtis Loy. Judge Loy, you have big shoes to fill. We have Judge Stephen Stockard, also from the 11th Judicial District. We have retired Judge Bob Fleming from the 11th Judicial District. We have with Bob Fleming is his wife, Peggy Fleming, who is not a judge, but I just wanted to shout out that Peggy Fleming was my teacher in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So we have Chief Judge Dan Kreitz from the 13th Judicial District, who's here with us. And we have a number of other judges who are here. And so I'm sure that I'm going to miss some of you, but I'm going to do my best to kind of call you out as we go. But I know we have Judge Chris Jayram here. We have Chief Judge Kevin Behrens with us today. And I will acknowledge the rest of you as we go along. So. For those of you who may not be familiar with Judge Bolton Fleming's new role, let me tell you a little bit about the work of the Kansas Court of Appeals. We are an intermediate appellate court. That means that we are one of the courts, and there are 41 of these courts throughout the country, whose opinions have the potential for another level of review to the state's highest court. In Kansas, of course, our reviewing court is the Kansas Supreme Court. Thanks for being here. As an intermediate appellate court, we are duty bound to follow the opinions of our Kansas Supreme Court and also the Supreme Court of the United States. That means that we can't overrule their precedent, and we must follow the laws that are laid out in their decisions to the best of our ability. The Kansas Court of Appeals has original appellate jurisdiction over almost all cases filed in Kansas. So for all of you who want to break with the lawyer speak, that means that litigants who file cases in Kansas normally have the right to appeal the decision reached by an earlier court, that's usually a trial or a district court, to ours. We don't have any discretion as to what those cases are that come before us. About 70 of the cases that we see touch on some kind of criminal matter, some aspect of the criminal justice system, from criminal trials and pleas to sentencing to examining the decisions of defense counsel who have been appointed throughout the case. But we hear everything. So we hear routine traffic tickets, we hear multi-million-dollar contract disputes, we hear your personal injury cases, we also hear administrative appeals, including direct appeals from the Board of Tax Appeals, the Workers' Compensation Board, the Kansas Corporation Commission. On one docket, just to give you an idea, in 2021, and I think that Judge Klein was also on this docket with me, I sat on a panel that heard complex criminal cases, child in need of care cases, First Amendment claims involving public actors, and the disqualification of the grand champion lamb from the Kansas State Fair. So when I say we hear everything, I mean it. As I mentioned, there are 14 judges that sit on our court. We generally sit in panels of 3 to hear and decide our cases, and we're a high volume court. We run 4 panels of 3 judges every month, and typically each of those panels hears 18 to 24 cases. And all told, that means that we hear and decide about 1,400 appeals over the course of a year. If a person is dissatisfied with our decisions, then they can petition the Kansas Supreme Court to take the case. Of the around 1,400 cases that we decide in a given year, the Kansas Supreme Court accepts fewer than 100 cases, typically. And well over 50% of the accepted cases result in our decision being affirmed. So that means that our court is the final decision maker in the vast majority of appeals. This, of course, means that our responsibility to the rule of law and the cause of justice in our state is a weighty one, and we treat it as such. We are also a traveling court by design. We generally hear cases in Topeka, Wichita, and Olathe every month, but several times throughout the year, our judges travel across the state to communities and colleges to conduct oral arguments and visit with Kansans about the work of our court. Just last year, we conducted hearings in Ark City, Leavenworth, Liberal, Winfield, as well as at KU and at K-State. This year, we have already traveled to Salina, to Emporia State University, to Fort Hays State University, to Pittsburgh State University, Johnson County Community College, and we will be hearing cases in September at both of our Kansas law schools, so at KU Law and at Washburn Law, and then in October, we will be at Hutchinson Community College and Kansas City, Kansas Community College. We are busy. Upon arrival at these special settings, we often attend receptions, we meet the public, we go out to grade schools and high schools and colleges, and we break bread with the trial court judges and the staff. It's always been one of the aspects of our job that we look forward to the most. Judge Bolton Fleming is the 46th attorney and the 15th woman to serve on the Kansas Court of Appeals in the last 48 years. She will be joining a group of judges who are brilliant, dedicated, very funny, or so we think, and unwavering in their commitment to the rule of law, who will become a sort of extended family to you. It doesn't look like you need an extended family. Our judges often recount that now retired 10th Circuit Court of Appeals Judge Mary Beck Briscoe, who formerly served as a chief on this court, described her time on the court by explaining that you don't really know the meaning of collegiality until you drive 6 hours across the car or across Kansas in the car together and back to hear cases. And just a hint, the driver gets to pick the music. We are all aware of the divisive nature of the politics and the atmosphere in which we find ourselves. Public trust in our governmental institutions is at a low, and the courts are not immune from that criticism. But I have found the Court of Appeals to be a shining example of how to collaborate on important issues civilly, even when we disagree. As I mentioned, we sit in panels of 3, and we bring a variety of perspectives and experiences to the bench. Our court includes women and men from different cultural backgrounds with different political viewpoints. We have judges who are in their 40s, and we have judges who have served on the bench for 40 years. Our judges hail from Wichita, Topeka, and Kansas City Metro, yes, but we also come from Stockton and Hugoton, and from Pittsburgh and Mound City. We have served as district court judges, as chief judges, as general counsel to hospitals and counsel to federal judges, as attorneys in private practice, and as attorneys who dedicate their lives to governmental and public service. We have tried cases, we have heard cases and presided over cases, and we have litigated the appeals from those trials. This variety of experience leads to a deeper understanding of the impact of our decisions. It adds dimension as we apply the law to the facts of each case. So while it is true, as Chief Justice John Roberts noted, that appellate judges generally call balls and strikes in the legal world, our backgrounds allow us to have a 360-degree, 3-dimensional view of the strike zone. Our decisions are richer for it, and it makes the work of our court incredibly rewarding. Kansans should be proud of the way our court approaches each case, and I know that I am very proud. So we're eager to welcome Judge Bolton Fleming into the fold. We look forward to learning from you, to discussing the law with you, and to doing the important work of striving toward a more perfect union through the cause of justice. I would now like to welcome Deputy Secretary of State Jennifer Cook, who is delivering Secretary Scott Schwab's certification of Judge Bolton Fleming's appointment to this court. Deputy Secretary Cook, please step forward and read that certification into the record today.
Thank you. Office of the Governor, State of Kansas, Certificate of Appointment. I, Laura Kelly, Governor of the State of Kansas, hereby appoint and commission Lori Bolton Fleming as Kansas Court of Appeals Judge, and authorize this appointee to discharge the duties of this office upon fulfilling all legal requirements. Signed this 30th day of July, 2025, Laura Kelly, Governor.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary Cook, and thank you for joining us. I've looked at you a number of times. We also are joined today by District Judge Jen Brunetti. Judge, it's so great to have you here. And we'll just continue. This will be an ongoing thing throughout as I'm recognizing people and as you move in a window and I find you. So don't worry, it's coming for the rest of you. Judge Bolton Fleming has 3 people who will introduce her this afternoon. The court is first honored to hear from now Chief Judge Curtis Loy from the 11th Judicial District in Pittsburgh. Chief Judge Loy.
May it please the court. And this is a first for me, having my back to the sitting judge. I am Curtis Loy, Chief Judge of the 11th Judicial District sitting in Pittsburgh. When Judge Fleming approached me about speaking, I was very honored. Even though I got off to a little bit of a rocky start when she asked me to speak for 3 to 5 minutes, the hyphen between the 3 and 5 was not distinct. I thought she said 35 minutes. Well, the good news is I had plenty of material about the good judge that I could have spoken for 35, but the content is much better at the 3 to 5 minute level. Judge Lori Bolton Fleming was my senior at the district court judge level. You probably thought I was older. And deservedly so, she became my chief judge just in time for COVID. I neither wanted COVID or the task of leading our district through that pandemic. Judge Fleming attacked the task and understood all the things that were being told, and even had the ability to whip out administrative orders at a record pace. I was in total admiration right up to the time she sent me home. I thought she'd fired me. Judge Fleming, of course, invited me back to the courthouse, and over the next 5 years, we enjoyed a wonderful professional relationship and very strong friendship. When Judge Green announced that he was retiring, I openly suggested that Judge Fleming should apply. It turned out to be one of those things, be careful what you wish for. I speak for all of us in the 11th Judicial District when I say what a source of pride her appointment to the Kansas Court of Appeals is for all of us. She is one of our own. This is the same feeling you get when a member of your law firm becomes a judge or justice. We can now say, I knew her when, or I knew her before. When I speak with the judges and staff of the 11th Judicial District, I hear the same. We miss her. We do, and that includes me. Of course, I've also come to realize part of the reason they miss her is because now I'm chief judge. I know it will not take long for the appellate courts and citizens of Kansas to realize what a great jurist they have just selected. My final comment is just a reminder to the good judge, Lori Bolton Fleming, when reviewing the record on appeal. We all know district court judges are never wrong. There may be a few rare occasions they're a little weak on being right. God bless you, Lori, and thanks for the memories.
Thank you, Chief Judge Loy. Next, the court welcomes Chief Judge Dan Kreitz from the 13th Judicial District in Iola. Chief Judge Kreitz.
May it please the court. And I will have to correct the chief, the 31st Judicial District.
Sorry.
So,
Typo.
I sit primarily in Iola, and we cover 4 counties, Allen, Woodson, Wilson, and Neosho County. But I've had the privilege of serving with Judge Fleming in a lot of different ways. It's interesting to note that I believe, since I've been chief judge, and I don't know what this actually means, but I believe that Judge Loy is now the 4th chief judge I've worked with from the 11th Judicial District. I think that means I'm seasoned and experienced. I don't think that means I'm old, but I'm not sure. My wife is here, she can tell. So, seriously, I've had the pleasure of serving with Judge Fleming on many committees. In addition, we worked together through some very challenging situations. Let me briefly explain. The 11th and the 31st are adjacent judicial districts. And the Supreme Court has these cross-assignment orders so that the chief judges of each district can contact one another if none of the judges in their particular district can cover a case. Well, to say the least, Judge Fleming and I have had some unusual, challenging, and long-lasting cross-assignment orders and problems. These weren't fun situations, folks, not at all. The facts were horrible. Some of the issues were very complex legal issues, but we worked together through all of them. And no matter what the challenge, the Court of Appeals will be glad to know this, Judge Fleming was clearly up to the challenge. She welcomed the challenge. In fact, most of the time, she wouldn't assign one of her other judges. She would assign herself to those situations. We talked through it, and that's what she'd want to do. Judge Fleming, I also know, is dedicated. During one of these difficult cross-assignment orders, unbeknownst to me, I called her on her cell phone. She was in Hawaii on a family vacation. But she had the time to talk to me and deal with the situation. We worked through this ongoing situation, this cross-assignment order, and we found a solution. As an aside, almost 23 years ago, my mentor judge was Judge Lori's father-in-law, Judge Robert Fleming's, seated beside me. And Judge Fleming, Bob, and I remained close friends, and I sure appreciate his mentorship because he was my mentor judge when I was appointed 23 years ago. The Fleming family, as kind of a side, has a lot of lawyers. And during a recent conversation with Bob, he mentioned to me during the whole vetting process, Governor, that Mike Fleming made the statement that Lori is the smartest lawyer in the family. Well, Bob made it clear to me that he takes clear exception to that, and he has an ongoing objection to that statement. I don't think that Bob accepts that, but in all seriousness, Judge Fleming is an excellent addition to the court. Governor, you made an excellent selection. Senate, thank you so much for confirming her. We work together in many capacities. She is fair. She is patient. She's a great listener. She's an excellent writer. And most importantly, she's a wonderful person. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Judge Kreitz. And finally, we are happy to invite Judge Bolton Fleming's husband, who is also a lawyer, to the lectern, Kyle Fleming. Please come forward.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you for being here today. I know a lot of you traveled for 3 or 4 hours to get here, so I really appreciate it. When Lori first asked me to be here and say a few words, I will admit I was pretty hesitant. To get up here and talk about her is going to be near impossible, but I will share with you my experience as her spouse and watching her grow from a law student, because I was a year older than her in law school, to a Court of Appeals judge. And there are several qualities that Lori carries with her, both personally and professionally. The first is that Lori is just smart. Lori can process and analyze information faster than anyone I know. As her spouse, oftentimes that works to my disadvantage. She's usually one step ahead of me on every argument that we have. But as a law student and a lawyer and a district judge, now Court of Appeals judge, that's served her well. My brother Mike was in her law school class, and he tells a story that during the first semester of their first year, Mike and Lori and a friend named Heath Anderson, who's back in the back, and a couple others they had the same class schedule. So they formed a study group. And at the end of that first semester, it was discovered that Lori had top paper in a lot of their classes. Mike said when they came back second semester, everyone wanted to be a part of that study group. And Mike will tell you that it was because he was a part of that study group. But I think the record will show that it's Lori. He tells another story that it's time to sign up for second year classes. And he's sitting with Heath and he says, hey, what classes are you going to take second year? And Heath's response was, Fleming, I'm taking whatever classes Lori's in. So I think her fellow law students, law classmates, and colleagues recognize that quality in Lori. The second is that Lori is pretty humble. She's humble in her personal life. She's also humble in her professional life. Our daughter Miriam likes to bring up the fact that mom is now 2 levels above dad in the hierarchy of lawyers. And while Lori laughs like she does here, I know that's not at all how she sees her role as a judge. Lori understands that we must respect the authority of judges. Lori understands that if we don't respect the authority of judges, that our system will fail. But Lori is not at all concerned about the prestige or status that comes with having the role or the title of judge. I've heard from litigants and lawyers that appear in front of her all the time that she is humble in her approach from the bench. She is respectful. She is always, she's never belittling or demeaning to anyone in her courtroom, and she wants to make sure that people are heard. So Lori she appreciates this opportunity, and I know that she will serve Kansas to the best of her ability. The third quality is that Lori is always prepared. Regardless of the task, she is prepared. If it is getting ready for a kid's birthday party, getting us ready for a family dinner, preparing music for Christmas Eve Mass, getting us ready for vacation, or getting ready for court, Lori is prepared. She is our vacation planner. She books the hotel rooms. She plans the meals. Lori prepares a daily agenda of activities and meals, and sometimes has a backup agenda if the first agenda doesn't play out. So Lori is always prepared in everything she does. And she approaches her work with that same level of readiness. She believes that every case is important, and she prepares for every case as if it is the most important case in front of her. The fourth quality is that Lori is passionate about her family. She is passionate about her friends, her colleagues. She is passionate about the law. She is passionate about the legal system and making sure that we have an efficient and effective system. Most recently, Lori has taken on the task and has become one of her many passions of solving the solution of our shortage of lawyers in Kansas. She's created a law day in Kansas to introduce high school students and college students to the legal system, to all aspects of the legal system, from law enforcement to parole to lawyers. She has worked tirelessly to find internships and shadowing opportunities for prospective law students, and she has made herself readily available to prospective law students. So that has become one of her many passions. She understands the crisis that we face if we don't solve this lawyer shortage, and she has worked hard to solve that. Most importantly, Lori is passionate about her family and her children. There's a great quote from C.S. Lewis: "Children are not a distraction from more important work. They are the most important work." And that is how Lori approaches every day.
It's now time to administer the judicial oath. So Judge Bolton Fleming, would you and your family step forward and meet me in front of the lectern? Let's come over here. This is fun. All right. Would you raise your right hand? I'm done. Good. Right. Prepared. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the Judge of Kansas Court of Appeals? So help you God.
I do.
All right, congratulations. Fleming, why don't you come and join your colleagues?
Southeast Kansas. Hello, mentor.
Welcome to the court, Judge Bolton Fleming. Do you have any comments that you'd like to make today?
No, no kidding. Just a few. Good afternoon. Thank you all again for joining us today. It's such an honor to be joined by family and friends and colleagues, and also representatives from our 3 branches of government. It's just such a joy to see you all here today. Chief Judge stole a lot of my thank yous, so I'm going to briefly repeat them. First, to all of our employees that made today possible. She listed them all, but I want to call out just a few. Colleen Speaker, my judicial executive assistant, Chelsea Langland, Doug Shima, and everyone else that was listed. It literally takes an army to pull this off. So thank you all so much. I want to start today by simply sharing my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to serve the people of Kansas on the Court of Appeals. I'm also so grateful that for the last 13 years, I've had the opportunity to serve as a district judge, and for the last 4 years as a chief judge. To serve on the Court of Appeals is actually something that I've hoped to do since law school. So this is a bit of a dream come true. Our judicial system is a very big part of my life. And please know that every day I wake up very mindful of this responsibility. So with this gratitude comes a host of thank yous, so settle in. To our leaders from all 3 branches of government, to my family and friends, and to my community. But first, a little bit of context. So as Chief Judge Warner outlined to you, for those of you unfamiliar with how a Court of Appeals judge is selected, I just think it's really important that you understand that, because I think by understanding the process, that increases the trust in our system. So the applicants are first considered by a nominating commission, which is appointed by Governor Kelly. And they review your application materials, they contact your references, you participate in intensive interviews, and then that commission forwards the name of 3 finalists to our governor. And then our governor and her staff, who are all here today, put you through a series of interviews and continue that vetting process. And in the end, the governor makes her selection. And then at that point, the appointment is referred to the Senate Judiciary Committee that is chaired by Kelly Warren, and Senator Bowers is here today. She serves on that committee. And so then the appointment goes to that committee, who either appoints to recommend or not recommend, and then to the full Senate, where again, it's reviewed and you must receive a majority vote. So by the end of this process, there are a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds that are vetting each candidate. It's a very thorough process, and I was just treated professionally and with courtesy at every turn. So thank you. I would like to start my thank yous today by thanking our Governor, Laura Kelly, for the opportunity to serve. Governor Kelly, you made it very clear to me that you are open-minded, that you would give full consideration to my nomination, and that you emphasize the importance of selecting a qualified, fair, and impartial judge above everything else. And so I can assure you that it is my goal to serve all Kansans to the best of my ability. I also want to thank a few others from the governor's office who are part of this process, some of whom are here today. Lieutenant Governor David Tolan, Chief of Staff Will Lawrence, Chief Counsel Justin Witten, Deputy General Counsel Ashley Stites Hubbard, Director of Appointments Melissa King, and Ethan Belshie, Deputy Chief of Staff for Governmental Affairs. They also now have Emily Depew, one of our research attorneys, former research attorneys. But thank you. You know, they spent a ton of time on this process, and I can tell you they're just a joy to work with. I would also like to thank Governor Sam Brownback for selecting me in 2012. That was such a wonderful opportunity, and I have loved being a district judge and a chief judge. It was a difficult decision to apply, frankly, but in the end, I felt strongly that Southeast Kansas needed some representation on our appellate courts. In our district, we had not had someone on the court since 1978. Turning to the legislative branch, I will give some thanks in chronological order. I will start with thanking Senator Kelly Warren, who chaired the Senate Judiciary Committee, along with the members of that committee, Vice Chair Senator Kenny Titus, Ranking Minority Member Ethan Corson, as well as the members of the committee, Senator Mike Argabright, Senator Elaine Bowers, Senator Craig Bowser, Senator Joseph Clays, Senator David Haley, Senator Jeff Klemp, Senator TJ Rose, Senator Ron Reichman, Senator Patrick Schmidt, and Senator Doug Shade. I saw firsthand the work that goes into a confirmation process on your end. And I think Kansans appreciate the thoroughness with which you conducted this process. I would also like to thank my home senator, Senate Vice President Tim Schallenberger, for his guidance and support throughout the process. Thank you also to our Senate leadership, Senator President Ty Masterson, Senate Majority Leader Chase Blasey, Senate Assistant Majority Leader Karen Tyson, Senate Majority Whip Rick Cluse, Senate Minority Leader Dinah Sykes, Senate Assistant Minority Leader Senator Oletha Foscato, Senate Minority Whip Senator Cindy Hochler, Senate Agenda Chair Marcy Francisco, and Senate Caucus Chair Ethan Corson. And thank you to each and every senator for taking the time to talk to me, whether in person, phone, or email. At the tail end of an incredibly busy session, this process actually happened at the very busiest time of the session. They were trying to wrap things up, and even getting the nomination on the floor was really just a huge task. And each of the senators took time out of their lives to visit with me. I recall one conversation with Senator Doug Shane as he was driving back very late on a Thursday night after the end of a session, and called me to do my interview while he was driving home. And that was indicative of the level of work that I saw in both the House and the Senate. I actually spent some time observing the House when I was there as well. And I think Kansans would be proud of that work ethic. And now turning to the branch that I call home, our judicial branch, Chief Justice Lukert could not be here today, but I would like to thank her for being a great leader and mentor. Thank you also to each member of our Kansas Supreme Court and the two that join us today for being wonderful leaders and for your work every day. It's also important to me to thank retired Justice Evelyn Wilson. So she was our departmental liaison for the 11th Judicial District. That means she was in charge of our district, and we met monthly. And she was such a help in learning to become a chief judge, which she knew because she had been a chief judge herself. So she has our best wishes. Now to this court, to Chief Judge Warner. Thank you for your leadership, your organization, and most of all, your positivity. You are just simply a joy to work with. And to all the members of our court, thank you for the very warm welcome. You are a fun group to work with. You're an easy group to get to know, and I look forward to working with all of you. I'm so humbled to be part of such an intelligent, hardworking group of people. A couple special thank yous. One to Judge Karen Arnoldberger, who, for your gentle nudges to fully consider applying, even though I gave you a lot of excuses why I shouldn't. And thank you to my mentor on the court, David Bruns. When he was a very young district court judge, I was one of his law clerks in Shawnee County. So he is my mentor on the court, and it's been very helpful. And thank you to all of our research attorneys and our wonderful employees for helping me get settled. To Chief Judge Loy of the 11th, thank you for being my office neighbor and my friend these last 12 years. Magistrate Judge Gordy Gregory couldn't join us today, but he's our neighbor too. And I think you and Judge Gregory and I have solved a lot of the world's problems over some very bad coffee these last 12 years. I will miss seeing you every day, but I leave our district in your very capable hands. To the judges of the 11th, several are here today. Judges Fred Johnson, Jennifer Brunetti, Steve Stockard, Mayor Frederick, and Doug Steele. It's been a joy working with each of you. Some of you have actually worked with more than once. I've worked with Judge Gregory twice. Judge Stockard, who is here today, I've worked with as fellow prosecutors. We have been law partners, and now we are judges together. And then Judge Brunetti, she just keeps hanging around. So, so I will really, truly miss you all, but know that I'll still be coming to the barbecues. So it's all good. To our staff, and some are here today, which is such a wonderful surprise. To our staff in the 11th, Court Administrator Mac Young, who I see back there. Our two court reporters, Sean Higgins and Liddell Turley, who have each served our district for over 40 years. Our administrative assistants, Elaine Bradshaw, who is here. Elaine has been an administrative assistant to 5 chief judges. Jennifer Mirando and Jessica Young, and all of our 11th Judicial District employees, thank you for your hard work. You are literally the glue that keeps our local courts running, and I am so proud of you. To Chief Judge Dan Kreitz, thank you for your kind words today. thank you for always being my phone a friend. As a new chief judge, I had so many questions. And as you pointed out, we had some really difficult situations to work through together. And I've just always been so grateful for your guidance. And thank you also for your decades of service. Some of you from the legislative branch may recognize Judge Kreitz because he spends a lot of time in Topeka. To the attorneys of the 11th Judicial District, some of whom have joined us here today, and I want to say thank you for that. Thank you for your friendship, your work, your guidance. It's been such a joy. And a special thank you to Fred and Kayla Spigarelli, who are here today. He's awful quiet. There he is. He's never quiet, but some of my first experiences out of law school were trying cases with the Spigarelli firm, and they probably gave me more responsibility than I deserved. So thank you for letting me cut my teeth. Thank you to the Wilburton Towner Law Firm, a firm that's put forth a lot of judges over the years, and for Bill Wachter, who's now with Triplet, for leading that firm and for helping throughout this process. Thank you also to everyone that's here today from our 11th. Thank you to our two Kansas law schools for their efforts in increasing the number of attorneys in our state. That's probably a matter for another day, but it's an important topic. So, and thank you to Pittsburgh State for all that you've done in partnering with our district to help support our drug court and our Grow Your Own Attorney program. I would also like to say thank you for those of you that supported me in my nomination. It's always delicate, and you never know if people want to be recognized publicly for the things that they do to help you behind the scenes. So please just know that whether it was a mock interview or a phone call or an email, I appreciate everything that you did. Some of you had known me for decades. Some of you had never met me. And so thank you for getting to know me and supporting me. Now, I would like to introduce you to the most important people in my life, this huge group over here, my family. We are joined today by my parents, Mark and Brenda Bolton, and my siblings and their families, my brother Ryan and his wife Britta, my brother Andrew Bolton, who some of you know because he's an attorney in Kansas City, my sister Mary, her husband Lance, and my nieces Elsie and May Anderson. My youngest brother Luke and his family were unable to attend. My aunt and uncle Nancy and Byron Mays. I would like to take just a moment to thank my parents, who are the hardest working people I know. Thank you for setting the bar high when it comes to work ethic and for teaching us to always stand up for what is right. Thank you to my siblings and their families for their friendship and their humor. I'm grateful we're all so close. And thank you to Aunt Nancy and Uncle Byron for always having my back. We're a very large, tight-knit family. This isn't even all of us. And it means so much that you could all be here today. And we're also joined by my wonderful in-laws, retired District Court Judge Bob Fleming, his wife Peggy, my brother-in-law Mike and his wife Monica, and my nieces Anna and Josie, my brother-in-law Joe, his wife Lynn, and my nephews and niece Connor, Molly, and Rowan Fleming. My sister-in-law Maggie and her daughter Hattie could not attend today. And I've been blessed with the most amazing in-laws. They're also my very dear friends. It's been a joy to work alongside Bob as a judge and to have Peggy's friendship. And a special thank you to my brother-in-law, Mike. As you heard earlier, Mike's been my dear friend since law school. He is a gifted attorney and a leader in our profession. And without his insistence and support, I would not be here today. You can probably tell that I've saved the most difficult people to talk about for last. Difficult only because they're my world. My husband, Kyle, and I met in law school. He was a year ahead of Mike and I. Kyle's reputation in law school was that he was honest, reliable, smart, hardworking, and would give you the shirt off of his back. These are all qualities that I've also witnessed in Kyle as my spouse and as a father to our children. Kyle is a very talented attorney and accountant. He owns the Fleming Law Firm with offices in Pittsburgh and Parsons, and previously served as general counsel for 2 large companies as well as Pittsburgh State. Only once in the 27 years I have known Kyle have I truly ever seen him off of his game. And I just cannot resist sharing that today. So in preparation for our marriage 24 years ago, we attended a marriage encounter weekend through our church. And over the weekend, you participate in various events with other couples. But at one point, we were given an assignment. We were to return to our respective rooms and write for 30 minutes in a provided notebook about our flaws. and what we could do to address our flaws before entering into the marriage. And so we did our writing for 30 minutes and we rejoined, and I volunteered to go first. And so I was reading from the notebook to Kyle. These are my flaws. This is how I'm going to address them. And I looked up and I caught his eye and I noticed that he was sweating profusely, that he was pale, and his eyes were about to pop out of his head. And that moment, I understood what he didn't, that he had botched this assignment. He had written for 30 minutes about my flaws. So, since you have said these very nice things about me today, it is probably time I let this go. If you want to admit today I am flawless. No, seriously though, you know that I am grateful every day. You are my husband. Our 3 children join us here today. Kyle's correct. They are my life. 13 years ago, they all stood up with me as I took an oath to be a district court judge. And our kids were in 2nd grade, 1st grade, and preschool. So they have grown a little bit. They say we learn as much from our children as they learn from us. And I find that to be true. Our oldest, Aiden, is starting his senior year at the University of Notre Dame. He's majoring in global affairs and pre-medicine. From Aiden, among many things, I have learned the quality of determination. Since he was very young, Aiden has been a goal setter, and Aiden always has a very detailed and intense plan to reach his goals. Whether it is academics, sports, or a project, Aiden will work relentlessly until he reaches his goals. I see that even today as he prepares to take the MCAT. Aiden is not afraid to dream big, and he follows it up with hard work, and he is also a great older brother. Our son Keegan is starting his junior year at the University of Kansas, majoring in mechanical engineering. From Keegan, I have learned how to have vision. Keegan has always had a unique ability to see beyond what is right in front of him and imagine how things can be bigger and better and smarter. So I guess it's good he's going to be an engineer. He is also incredibly reliable. We often remark that we wouldn't make it without Keegan to plan, build, and fix everything around our house. Keegan is also a good time. Our daughter Miriam, who we call Mimi, will be a freshman at Kansas State University, majoring in human health biology, pre-physical therapy. From Mimi, I have learned to be courageous. When I was sworn in 13 years ago, Mimi was recovering from a cleft lip and palate surgery. And just this month, she had another large surgery at Mayo Hospital. She has had over 20 surgeries in her short lifetime. She is modest and is probably not thrilled I am sharing this, but somehow between all of these surgeries, she has been an honor student, a varsity athlete, and a leader. Most amazing to me is that throughout these trials, she has remained the most positive person I know. Her faith is a model for our entire family. I will close today by sharing just a couple thoughts on being a judge. As I explained throughout the nominating process, my views on the law all start with the same idea that government belongs to the people. That belief shapes who I am as a judge and how I interpret and apply the law. Because I believe that government belongs to the people, I also believe that citizens have a right to know their judges. So I'm sharing these thoughts with you today so that you'll hopefully get to know me a little bit better. My judicial philosophies are pretty simple. Judicial philosophy usually means 1, how a judge decides cases, and 2, how a judge interprets and applies the law. So first, as to how I decide cases, in every case I decide, I commit to interpreting and applying the law in a fair and impartial manner. It is my goal to write opinions that are scholarly but readable by all. I suppose that comes from my background as a teacher. My hope is that anyone reading my opinions can easily understand the holding. I am committed to being prepared and doing my best to render a correct decision as quickly as possible. I emphasize the latter because I think sometimes it is easy to forget that behind each of these case captions, there are real people, individuals, businesses, organizations who have put their lives on hold, not only while their case proceeds through the district court, but now through our appellate process. As judges, we best serve the people of Kansas by issuing well-reasoned, timely opinions. Second, as to how I interpret the law, because I believe that government belongs to the people, I give deference to the words that have been written by our elected representatives and statutes. And when there is an ambiguity, I believe we should generally look to legislative history. As judges, we also follow the doctrine of stare decisis, which requires the lower courts to follow the decisions of the higher and encourages the highest court considering an issue to be mindful in providing consistency to the citizens of the state in its opinions. Consistency is important because we want our citizens as individuals, businesses, and organizations to have the consistency in the law that they need to make well-informed decisions as much as is possible. And of course, we are always bound in our decisions by the United States and Kansas constitutions. Finally, apart from my judicial philosophies, I will share with you I take great interest in the administrative justice in our state. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to serve on many worthwhile committees, such as the Pretrial Justice Task Force, led by Judge Arnoldberger, the Rural Justice Task Force, led by Justice KJ Wall, and many others. Many of the obstacles faced by our courts pertain to access to justice, and these look different depending on where you live in the state. These issues can range from extreme attorney shortages to lack of public transportation to court, language barriers, just to name a few. Our courts must be committed to serving all Kansans, but solving many of our access to justice issues, such as the shortage of attorneys in our state, will require all three branches of government to work together. Kansas is special for many reasons, but at the top of my list is its people. Our leaders and its citizens have historically had the unique ability to find common ground and work together. At the state level, we have seen this most recently with the creation of the Water Program Task Force this month, a bipartisan effort meant to ensure all Kansas have access to clean water for generations to come. At my local level, Southeast Kansas has a long history of cooperation between various stakeholders on projects that have moved the region forward, such as the redevelopment of dilapidated downtown buildings in Pittsburgh into student housing for Pittsburgh State students, restaurants, and retail. Cooperation is an exciting thing to witness and an even more exciting thing to be a part of. So I look forward to working with leaders across all three branches of government, as well as those in the private sector, to serve Kansans to approach justice issues impacting our citizens. I offer you my full cooperation. Please know that I am always willing to serve and my door is always open. So in conclusion, magic words to all of you, thank you for allowing me to introduce you to my family and my friends and my colleagues today. And thank you for taking the time to get to know me as an appellate judge and as a person. I am grateful that this is God's plan for my life, and I look forward to serving all Kansans as a judge on the Kansas Court of Appeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Bolton Fleming. We are thrilled to have you join us on the Kansas Court of Appeals. And more magic words, this concludes today's ceremony. A reception for Judge Bolton Fleming and her family will be held in the Hall of Justice. That's the atrium. Immediately following the ceremony, please remember to sign the guest book and offer your personal congratulations. Before that, though, I request that you remain seated to allow the members of this court and the members of the Kansas Supreme Court and the members of Judge Bolton Fleming's family to have the opportunity to leave the courtroom first so that we can get downstairs and be there to greet you all. I request Sarah Stratton, the appellate reporter of decisions, to make today's proceedings a part of the permanent record of our court. Thank you all for coming today, and for those of you joining us online, court is adjourned.